Hi everyone, thank you for being here with us tonight. I wanted to start out by introducing you to my comfort zone, which is typically in a classroom surrounded by 20 or so kids, or nestled under a blanket in bed with a book, or surrounded by family, friends, and pretty much anything familiar. But a few things that my comfort zone is not. It is not standing in front of a large group of people, delivering a speech in rapid-fire 20-second chunks. It is not laying my heart out on the line and risking rejection or fear of judgment. And it's also not always sitting down and having hard conversations with people whose experiences and views might differ greatly from my own. And so I wanted to start and share this with you because I think it's important that you know that even though tonight I'm completely largely outside of my comfort zone, I wanted to come for a few reasons. The first is that the message is one from my heart. And the second is because I wanted to express some gratitude to a group of people I'm excited to share with you who made it possible for me to be here by stepping outside of their comfort zones and helping to expand themselves and others. So back in March, I organized York's first human library. And if you're unfamiliar with what a human library is, it's essentially a library that is a collection of real-life people instead of books. And these people share their stories through individual conversations. And so this is a movement that originated in Denmark. It's now spread throughout the world. The people who sign up to share their stories are referred to lovingly as books for the day. They get to choose their own titles. They're typically based on a bias or a stereotype that they've experienced in their life. The people who come to sit and talk to the books are referred to as readers. The conversations are open and they're respectful. People can end them at any time. You can ask any questions that you would like to the person, and people do not have to answer any questions they don't feel comfortable with. So prior to March, something that I had been exploring the idea of a lot was connection. And so I wanted to share a definition with you tonight from Brené Brown because this definition really resonated with me, and it's something that really helped me to craft the whole experience of the human library. And she shares, connection is the energy that's created between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment. Connection is essential to the human experience. I believe that no matter what work it is you do, the building of relationships is the important part of that. Everybody has a story and everyone's story matters, and once you sit down with a person and you get to know their individual story, it becomes a lot harder to hate or judge them. There's power in speaking to someone and hearing your own emotions reflected back in their experience. There's power in knowing that you're not alone in your feelings, and there's power in the phrase "me too." And I believe when we're able to sit down and we're having these open, vulnerable, honest conversations with someone, that's when our barriers break down, that's when love can emerge, and that's when the magic happens. So the ideas of connection and human library just kind of melded together pretty easily for me. And in the back of my mind on a whim, I just kind of started to think, what would it look like if there was a human library in York? And then because life is serendipitous and crazy like this, at that very exact time, I was presented with an opportunity to apply for some grant funding that would allow me to bring this experience to life. So I thought, what the hell? And I went for it. So when I found out that I received the grant, I was immediately excited, and then I was instantaneously overwhelmed because I knew it was a really big opportunity, and I wanted to do it justice, and I wanted it to be the best possible experience for everybody involved. So as I started to plan my vision for the day, there were a couple things that I wanted to create. And I wanted it to be a place where people felt safe, and I wanted people to feel comfortable, because I knew if I could build from those two things that I had a much better chance of helping people to feel seen and heard and valued. And my hopes for the day, I hoped that my books could come and share their story and feel seen and empowered in doing that. I hoped that the readers could come and develop some understanding and some empathy of someone new outside of them. And I really hoped that people on both sides of the conversation walked away somehow more, either feeling more connected to someone or seeing more of themselves in someone else and having their experience reflected back. And so as I started to develop my library, I really wanted to curate a collection of people that showed the wide range of human experience and the spectrum of humanity. And so, to be honest, 15 was my number. I was like, all right, this is crazy. Maybe 15 people will do this, because you have to be really brave, you have to be really honest, and you have to be really vulnerable to sign up to do this, and I don't know if I could ever personally do it. So I was like, 15, all right. But I am so happy to tell you that I was able to get 35 people there that day who were courageous enough to show up, and they shared their stories as experiences that had shaped them rather than things that had simply defined them. There were 50 readers who were also just as courageous because they showed up to be brave enough to engage in these hard conversations and to challenge their own personal biases and misconceptions and to build to build some empathy for other people. I don't have the words to describe that day because I was walking around happy crying all day, watching all of the connections and the experiences and making sure everything was good. And it sounds super cheesy, but the only word that I really have to describe it was magical. There was magic in the air. But a couple of words that were used by my participants to describe it to me afterwards were inclusive, hopeful, inspiring, powerful, and healing. And I wanted to come to share tonight because while I'm really absolutely happy that it did, I don't believe that this kind of experience has to happen in isolation at a structured event. Each and every one of us has the opportunity to look inside of ourselves and love who we find there without judgment. Each and every one of us has the voice to empower others by sharing our own personal stories. Each and every one of us has the ability to sit down and listen to someone else's story without judgment and with an open heart and find pieces of your own humanity reflected back in what they share. And we can only ever speak from our own personal experience, but I don't think that that should stop us from sitting down to have conversations, to grow our own understanding and empathy for people and hear someone else's story. Every day, in every moment, we have a chance to make really small choices and acts of love and courage and connection. And I think if we take the time to step outside of our comfort zones and at least attempt to do just that as often as we can, as much as we can, even though we're probably going to do it really imperfectly, I think it's going to make our world a much better, brighter place. So thank you for being here with me tonight and allowing me to feel seen and heard and valued. And thank you for taking this story to now become a part and a small piece of your own.